Welcome, welcome. And I know a random video in the morning, but my friends from Japan got back and we had to make some time for them. That's right. The thing that I think you should do. Yes, we are doing some technical analysis today, but what I think is mainly important is paying attention to those around you who you truly care about and making time for them. And that's overall why I trade. I trade so that I can spend more time with family. I really do. I think trading is a way to open up your time so that you can pay attention to the really important things in life. And so that's why I wanted to put an update out this morning so that maybe you can go into this weekend and think to yourself, hey, maybe I'm just going to spend some time with family. And then I'll check in with Lucas here on Sunday so that I can get some weekly expected moves and maybe some daily expected moves for Monday. As we've risen the floor here, it is good to look at the technicals. We will be going into some daily timeframes for the SPY, the Qs, and the VIX. And then we'll also be looking at the 2-hour chart to really discuss how this would like to top out over the next few days, maybe the next couple of weeks. We are going into VIXPERATION, so I think it is very good to give this update before the weekend, before the day is up, so that maybe you see something that causes you to react, and I think that's a perfectly good thing. So thank you guys for being here this morning. Get your cup of coffee if you need it, and let's get into it. Now, first things first, I know that we're going to be talking about daily scale, but I just want to go into the 2 hour. I want to make sure you guys have the daily expected moves for today. We do see 648.43 to the upside for the SPY and 641.47 to the downside for the SPY. Now, I'm just going to flip over to the Qs if you want to pause and get those on your chart. These are 68% zones. The red lines here are always going to be the daily expected moves. The purple lines are going to be your weekly expected moves, and you can see we're climbing up to that right now. And then in yellow, if you need the monthly expected moves, just look back a few videos. We usually shout them out pretty often. For the Qs, this will be your opportunity to get these for today. We will see 583.48 to the upside and 576.30 to the downside. And we do have the weekly expected moves up as well if you want to pause and get these on your charts. And maybe over the weekend or on Sunday's update video, where we give out the weekly expected moves, we will give out these monthly expected moves. That way you can have every single level on your chart because we are going into VIXPERATION. As we go into VIXPERATION, we can start to see some volatility at that time. And we do notice that volatility is low. VIXPERATION is a time where if you are seeing squeezes like this, we do kind of see a reset in the options data for volatility. We see them start to reprice those options. And usually during those times, you will see a little spike in volatility at the least. So we have climbed up and up for a long time. We are heading into VIXPERATION. So it is now a very important week to pay attention to a little bit of volatility and then see how this market would like to top out as we go back and discuss those daily signals. So make sure to pause, make sure to get these levels on your chart. These are 68% zones with a 32% chance to land outside of them. We're heading up to the weekly expected move. Looks like we're still climbing in the 68% zone for the week with a 32% chance to see something crazy today by the close. All right. Thank you guys. And let's get into some technical analysis. So I will be getting into the shorter time frames in this video, but I first wanted to just show you, hey, if this daily signal does cross back down, it would suggest that we are going to start to see a sell-off. That's what it would suggest at this point. We have climbed up, but in a very controlled fashion too, by the way. Very controlled here as it stands. And we're starting to see a few things that if we would see another cycle move up, it is very possible into OpX. Normally I would sneeze and then start to maybe retake, but I think that makes it even more genuine. Let's leave the sneeze in this time, right? Have some fun with it. The daily scale here, if you're able to curl down on the MACD, you would be confirming a divergence. Finally, a divergence would be confirming that is actually significant on both the MACD and the RSI. So we do still have some time to potentially go higher to that monthly expected move as we point right there, but that could take till the end of the month. That could take till August 22nd or the end of the month. And we do have VIXPERATION coming up. Now, why would I be overall talking about some kind of pullback, even on the 2 hour, to set up the signal that really crosses us to the downside, really gets us going in the downward direction? Well, because if we go over and we look at these 30-minute charts, we're starting to see that today, especially today, which is what we discussed on Patreon, we overall could see this come down to these levels, right? And then we posted pictures saying then we're going to curl up on the 30-minute, maybe to get to that weekly expected move. But around that time, we will be looking for those divergences. So today is going to be a big day to pay attention if there is a 30-minute divergence formed for the SPY, that would be a negative divergence on your MACD. If you see this little guy pop up today and curl back down, giving that divergence and confirming, giving the divergence on the RSI at the same time and confirming, that can be an overall bad thing. But you can treat this pretty simply and say if the 30-minute curls up, the two levels that I can really get to are 647.51 or 648.43. That 30-minute divergence likes to do what? If we see the 30-minute divergence before the weekend, we might be heading into a little Monday trap to kind of shake some people out during the VIXPERATION heightened volatility. We notice that the easier trade here would be if the 30-minute, or I'm sorry, if the 2-hour was actually able to dip down for some time and then curl back up into positive territory. We were able to see some downside going into some potential upside. And we do see that we will have some data coming out next week. So I wanted to pull that up so you would be aware of possible timing for this. But I overall just wait till I see the MACD down by that center line. I look for some hints in the shorter time frames compared to the 2-hour swing trade just to give me some hints. As far as it stands, PPI came out pretty dang hot. So that's going to be a little bit of an issue, right? And then today we do have retail sales coming out in the morning. While after that, we'll get Michigan consumer sentiment. So we have all of these things going on. They can just lead to further squeezing. We can always raise that floor and things like that. So if we don't see a 30-minute divergence today, but we squeeze instead, then we're still looking for that 30-minute divergence to form. As far as next week, if you want to look at the timing of it, we see that August 19th, we have a few pieces of data, but I was really paying attention to the FOMC at 1 p.m. The FOMC at 1 p.m. can be very, very important. FOMC minutes, that is, to just get a hint of maybe they give someone a cookie of we're getting rate cuts. Maybe they say we're going to get rate cuts because of something bad happening or some kind of weakness in the economy. But also, if we pull up the actual data here and we say, okay, well, what's very, very likely to happen here as far as it stands, we do notice that it starts to leak into the data here that as the data has progressed, this number has gone from about 20% to 44% to 56% to 92.6%. We will see if that number changes by September, but it looks like in September, we could be getting a small cut. So we will be watching that carefully. This was overall to give you some timing with it. That could say that we are going to get the 30-minute pump. We're going to get the 2-hour dump going into next week. And maybe on Wednesday, we want to pay attention if we get reversal signals down in here, down towards some great levels, that we can actually reverse back to the upside. The reason that we are looking for more upside here is because you do not see that great divergence. It's very extended across. And a lot of the time before that daily divergence likes to go down, 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 and we like to see a big daily retracement, we will make a 2-hour signal. Meaning that because the MACD for the 2-hour chart is extremely elevated, we have a lot of room down here where people can, even if they see something ugly, they can be convinced that it's falling down. But if the 2-hour is able to curl back up, it might be going to make what? The divergence point. Now, that could lead us into the 22nd, where that is able to create that signal. It can always leak out a little bit longer than that, and that's why we really pay attention to trading like water, right? Figuring out which way the water's going, looking at the rocks down our stream, like something like FOMC minutes, and then figuring out, hey, is the good water, is the stream really flowing towards the sewer, or is it going to flow towards the meadow? Now, I like to say I always like to flow towards the meadow, and I treat the it clown like a losing trade, so I don't like to go to the sewer. Really scared of clowns. Don't ask me why. It's from my childhood. We can see that 655.88, that's how we would overall start to get there, right? So if we are able to squeeze in this moment for the 2-hour, then we can actually see this take some time here and actually create those signals towards the exact end of August. So I wanted you to be aware of a lot of these type of moves because we overall posted some pictures on Patreon, and I just wanted you to be a little bit updated with it. We can make triple divergence on the 2-hour and all things like that. So I will continue to update you here on YouTube if you would like to subscribe. And we can also point out the fact that we do have the divergences actually on the RSI here that are formed. They can go away, and we will discuss them differently if they start to go away. If we just start to blast off here and we just wipe out the divergence that we could create here and here, that can be a pretty big problem. So I just wanted you to be aware of that, but the Qs do have those signals as well. And the 2 hour chart, if we're really looking at this, we go, oh, that's actually crossed down, right? We've crossed down, not on the best bar, okay? The only bar that's really bad when you look at the 2 hour chart, and I wouldn't necessarily say bad, just a little unfortunate, is this bar only has 30 minutes in it. So just be aware the last bar of the day for the 2 hour chart can be a little bit tricky. But the big thing here is the space between the center line for the 2 hour chart. This is really suggesting that even if we did see the 2 hour drop off, we would potentially see that turn back around. So it will be important next week to pay attention to reversal signals, maybe around FOMC minutes. That is Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Time. That is my time. But something here that likes to happen is we like to see continuation, which means what? Even if I think that the market is going to crash down, I can take those potential positions if I really think it's going to crash down, but I have to have a management for the trade in place because the 2 hour looks so good here. And if the 2 hour would confirm up and I have to manage a downward trade, I can immediately flip the script and maybe go back into a bullish one and have a very easy target. So if I think this is going to blast through the floor and we're going to curl down the daily chart, I can take that play, right? That's perfectly fine for me to take. But the management for the trade of the 2 hour in that case, on the daily trade, that is, if the 2 hour is able to curl up, you would say, oh, we're not heading in that downward direction again. Where might we head? Well, we would potentially head to an easy target of the monthly expected move. And so that's something that I would overall look out for. Does the 2 hour look like it is going to cross right now? Well, the 30-minute for the Qs has overall kept hitting these points and then violated that divergence point. It could be multiple point divergence at this time, but really it looks like what? Where is the 30-minute chart? It is by the center line. This means that for today, we might have the potential to still curl up, go up to that daily expected move to test the high, maybe go make a new one, right? Because we are in positive territory, usually when you do see a curl up by the center line, you would suggest that we can test the high, go make a new one. So if the Qs are able to see some upside here, and then they see a downturn towards the end of the day, or maybe it doesn't confirm and it confirms on Monday, that's a 30-minute divergence, and that leads to us seeing potential reversals going into maybe that FOMC minutes, which happens to be Wednesday. What is VIXPERATION? VIXPERATION is next Wednesday. So I wanted to make you very aware of these things. So if we're able to make a 30-minute divergence today, it's not 100% necessary, but I think we have potential to go do so. Then we're able to see some kind of pullback over time that we will create reversal signals for, and we'll be able to see the 2 hour curl up into positive territory. That way we can go up into OPX. So I believe we might see a flash of volatility going into Wednesday of next week being VIXPERATION. And then after that, we'll be able to resolve it and we might see upside into OPX, set some kind of trap, or we may head higher into the last week of August. So we will keep updating you on this channel so you are aware. So please subscribe. So now I wanted to pop over to the VIX. And the big thing with the VIX, yes, I'm on the 2 hour chart, but I want to flip over to the daily chart. Okay, something that I suggested to pay attention to here with volatility is, yes, we did curl down here. Yes, we are making a potential another point of divergence, but what if it is just that? If we are just making another point of divergence and this divergence here on the MACD is able to hold, if we are able to hold the divergence on the RSI in the near price action and across the way with the first point, that can be a big deal because that means we're still holding those macro signals. We might be just heading up and up and up, ignoring as much risk as possible. And the ignoring as much risk as possible was even a little higher up than I thought. So I'm going to stay very aware of this daily divergence on your MACD. I am going to stay, oh my gosh, that drawing was bad. I'm going to stay very aware of this daily divergence on the MACD and very aware of the daily divergence on the RSI. I think those two things will be very important. Do we see signals from the 4 hour or the 2 hour chart that really suggest we're going to see that big wave of volatility yet? No, not necessarily. So how we would overall like to see big volatility come in if we are going to start to sell off whenever that happens towards maybe August 22nd or even towards even towards the end of the month, we will actually more likely see some kind of wave of volatility that creates a higher low. And notice that this would go into potentially like Tuesday, late Tuesday or Wednesday, or we could potentially just see this kind of drag out for some time and then curl down and create that 2 hour divergence before we're able to head to the upside leading into August 22nd. So these are the type of things that I'm looking for from volatility. As it stands, the 30-minute chart is near the center line. So for today, if we're going to see this drop off, something that can give you a good hint by Monday would be if we're able to make a 30-minute divergence by Monday and we see that pop off to the upside, we could see some kind of signal here that tells you when that 2 hour divergence across is actually going to confirm. So I wanted to mention this to you. As far as it stands, it looks like volatility is extremely low, right? If we look at this, it is extremely low before VIXPERATION. Something you want to look for in VIXPERATION is volatility very low when you're starting to get there? Because that means we could get that little repricing moment, right? We could get a repricing moment that then fails. We've seen this multiple times before. If you want the previous VIXPERATION, look at this Wednesday, July 16th. We did see a spike in volatility, and that was able to subside. Okay, so now you're in that same time where you can get a spike of volatility that then decides to subside. And I think that's where we can give the overall main takeaway here. Yes, we can see a couple of days of pulling back going into potentially next Wednesday. If we set up the correct hints, right, today, the 30-minute divergence, then you might have a hint for that. But this is a very bullish market and is very likely to go up into August 22nd. Bullish trades have proven to be way easier here. And so if this is able to create that weakness in momentum, curl down on the 2 hour, it is very likely to continue where we would look for traps maybe going into next week or the end of August. Okay, so really the shapes that we're looking for here is a 2 hour divergence on, say, your MACD, and a 2 hour divergence maybe on the RSI at the same time. And this will really help us out in deciding, hey, is there weakness in momentum here? Are people ignoring risk at a very, very high level? And the answer to that question is at this point, obviously, yes. And I believe that we have FOMO to even pass the FOMOers to where I think everyone believes that this market is going to just keep skyrocketing. And those who don't believe it, who keep shorting, are about to extremely give up right at the time where we are going to see a daily retracement. So the signals always decide, the market proves itself, and I trade based on the proving of the market, based on the signals in front of me. So if any of this ends up being wrong, I will update you on this channel. If any of this thing starts to confirm certain signals that go against this, I will update you on this channel or on Patreon. The link to Patreon is in the description, and the full technical analysis course that is 90% off, where we talk about and learn, help teach you about these moves in here, help get you your chart ready so that you can just get to trading if you're new and understand monthly and weekly and daily expected moves, how to really trade around them, what to look for, the reasons for the trade. Everything that I use in order to trade is in that course, the full technical analysis course. You can get it for only $100 this month. So get it while it lasts. Thank you guys so much for joining me this morning, and I hope you have a blessed, blessed day. And I hope you have a great weekend with some things planned with family, because that's the truly important thing in life, your friends and family and how you spend time with them. Thank you guys. I hope you have a good one. Peace out.